I see Tracy on this call as well?
You do. And I do not believe you are where you say you are.
Oh, no, you may recognize this beach from Maui in Hawaii. I would
Although
not be.
I do like the lighting because it kind of makes you think, is he or isn't
Right,
he?
right. So the reason I love it, Stefan's muted. Ah,
New technology. Damn
there
it.
you go.
Okay, that's way better. Yeah, I
Okay,
like how you
let's
faded
rewind
in,
that whole thing.
faded in from the background, dude. When you came in, it was very like odd and ghostly and regal.
Yeah, this is how this
that
works,
was
right?
it.
So, right?
What, just into the light and back from it? Is that what it is?
No, it's literally the webcam on my computer will I can slide it over to turn it on or off, and when I have it off, Zoom will project the background as usual, and then when I slide the camera on, it fades me in because that's its default state is fade in. So
Got it.
So I get this moment, right? But yeah. So here we are. So listen, just a heads up.
Sure.
I've got a hard stop at the top of the hour. I've got a client
problem.
meeting. So so yeah, and you know us, right?
Yeah.
And I know Tracy, and so we are going to fill this hour in a heartbeat. And Michelle, oh yeah,
Oh boy. Now it's a party.
totally. So yeah.
It'll pop off. We'll give it a few more minutes, and then I know a bunch of conductors are still on R. We were having an all hands, so that backs up into this thing. But I think we should be good soon.
Oh yeah. So I put on a collared shirt there today, just make sure I look, professional from the beach. So actually, I'm going to change that up. Let's go with what do we think is an appropriate backdrop?
Oh, really? We're gonna do this?
We could no. I'm
you
thinking.
Know. I will see your background, and you know exactly what I'm going to do right now. I will raise you one Duane Forrester.
I'm going to my submarine.
So
that's it.
That's
the funny thing is, I look damned interested in whatever it is you have to say.
Yeah, let me tell you, I don't know what you're like. You're holding something back, but you're not. I don't know.
So we were doing headshots at the office, and we had just set up our new studio in the office, and we were in the studio, and our photographer Jay was like, just hang on a second, I'm just going to take some quick test shots, check white balance, so you don't have to do anything. And so I just started messing around, right? I was like, oh, this is my Austin Powers moment.
Did you ask for your motivation and stuff? Or?
Yeah, and I started going and doing different things. And of course, he was snapping the photos the whole time, but he was watching for white balance. And then when he went back, he looked through them all. He's like, I have to use this for something.
I just love the fact. I just love the fact that that's the one that ranks in Google. That's really all it comes down to. Is that's the one I went looking for photos of you for the promotional stuff, and I'm like, ooh, I should really kind of drop that photo right underneath the logo. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna spare him.
Hey, it's very very meme friendly.
It's extremely meme friendly.
Was not the intention, but here we are.
Hey guys, what's up?
Patrick, how are you?
Good, Duane. How you doing, man?
I am well, thank you. Just check your 6, right? You got somebody sneaking out of the room there. I don't know if they're supposed to.
Yeah, it's my kid. Yeah, Jameson. He just he's trying to get away from his younger brother Declan, who is a little bit of a terror because he's got to do all his schoolwork. So he sits with me when he's doing his schoolwork, and he just kind of goes in and out.
Reasonable. I like it.
Yeah.
So is he kind of at that age where it's like, I want to be like dad, and if dad's working, then I should be working, and like that, like he doesn't understand that, like, no, you should probably try to avoid this as long as possible.
Yeah,
like,
he's he's in the ladder of that. He's doing this because we're forcing him to. He's 7, but he's like a 65-year-old man trapped in a 70-year-old's body. So like,
wow.
he gets through things, and he just really wants to play Fortnite and watch YouTube. Yeah. So he kind of just like blows through things, right, Jamo? Yeah.
Fortnite, YouTube, my man. There we go.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll just give this one more minute, see who else we'll have on, and then we will kick this off if that sounds good to you guys.
Yep.
Oh, I'm on board.
Awesome. Actually, you know what? I'm going to kick it off now. We got enough folks, and I don't want to make people on the call wait. Thank you guys all so much for joining. I'm Stefan Bajayo, Chief Evangelist of Conductor. We have Patrick Reinhardt, our Head of Digital Strategies, here as well, and a very special guest today for joining us for Search from Home. Actually, our third episode. Days are blending. This is the fourth right?
episode.
The fourth episode. Days are blending. I'm thinking about growing a quarantine beard. Oh shit! How long have we been in quarantine?
I plan on doing a quarantine mullet.
Nice.
There you go.
That would be Duane Forrester.
Right.
What is technically your title, Duane, at Yext?
VP of Industry Insights.
Yes, but Duane has an awesome background in search for so many years. Obviously a staple. If you've been to many conferences, you've seen him speak. Phenomenal guy, friend of mine, luckily to call him a friend, as well as a guitar aficionado, at least building them. So lots to go over today. Really excited to have everyone here. Hey guys, I'll just ask, everyone starts off muted. Obviously, feel free to keep yourself muted throughout as needed. Just some straight up ground rules as we usually do. Throw those cameras on if you want. We'd love to see your happy smiley faces. It's nice to have a little more kind of discourse. Thank you, Michelle. I know you're going to be the first one. Thank you. Awesome to see you. Feel free to do that, guys. Would love to see you, as I said. So we'll get into some stuff with Duane now. As you can see, I've kind of upgraded the stuff slowly. So a big shout out to my wife for letting me turn my living room into a podcast, videocast, livecast, streamcast studio until I actually get a desk this Friday. We'll be asking questions along the way. Looking forward to having people chime in, give their thoughts, and seeing how we can help people, because that is absolutely what we're looking to do here, is help folks out. So Duane, thanks so much for joining us. How are you holding up in your submarine?
Totally. I am good. I'm submerged off the coast of California. It's working well.
Safest place to be.
Yep.
Yeah. I've mastered the ability to go up and down in the submarine. Navigating sucks, so I'm kind of stuck in a kelp bed right now. Good news is I can just reach outside and get salad every night for dinner. Bad news is, I gotta pump the bilge after that quite vigorously. So, but no, we're holding up well. We got oddly enough, woke up this morning and my wife informed me it was like in the 30s this morning here. And that jived with walking outside with the dogs and being shocked by how cold it was here, technically in the desert. So,
right, you're out. Give everyone a context of where you're at.
I'm about 45 minutes north of Los Angeles, just about 10 minutes from the ocean. Having said that, I never go to the beach, but it's there. So we're next to Pandemic Central in California. If you will.
Yeah, I'm. Is it? I guess we're gonna have to start. And I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes this turns into my own group therapy session. But is it weird that I root for bad weather? Like I constantly root for like rain and stuff. I used to hate it, right? And now I'm just like anything to keep everyone else inside, so we can just get the thing over with sooner than possible. Like just freaking blizzard. I don't care. Like just keep people in, man.
I can't explain it, but when we get rain here, and we're kind of in our rainy season now in the spring, when rain comes through, my mood elevates because I know more people are staying home, and that's a good step towards solution. On the other hand, when it's not raining, I want the temperatures to be abnormally high because apparently that has an effect on the virus. So I'm like, wow, I'm not really a heat person. And yet I'm like, can we dial it up to 100, please? I'd be happy with that, And like, I take my UPS or my Amazon packages and I take them outside this time of day and I put them on the concrete patio in the sunlight because the UV rays can have an effect on the virus. And I'm just like, all right, this is my life now, apparently.
Yep.
So here we are.
Yep, trust me, it's a weird. New York City is a very weird place right now. So
yeah, it's like a ghost town. It's like The Walking Dead out here, you know. But I mean, you know, they started closing streets last night, and like I said, I'm out in Long Island. There's just no one out anywhere. I can get my kids out in the afternoon just to run around our backyard, you know, just to get some fresh air. But for the most part, everything is really, really closed now.
You know, I Am Legend. It looks like I Am Legend in New York City right now. I woke up early at 6 a.m. It was crazy.
If I could just go randomly find a Mustang GT 500 like Will Smith did in the movie and go for a rip around, you know,
right?
I'm not going to say no to this opportunity, right? Virus or not.
Yeah.
But I am going to do something here that I know is going to be a bit of a record scratch for you, Stefan. I'm gonna bring us in the direction of topicality, of actually talking about like search and whatnot.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So here's a question for you and Patrick, I guess. Barry Schwartz had posted this morning a poll that was going on about somebody was running a poll on Twitter about traffic volumes being down, organic search volumes being, you know, down, neutral, or up in relation to each week of coronavirus so far. And it kind of got me thinking about, you know, the responses that I've seen and the kind of moments in time that I've bumped into over the last couple of weeks with businesses trying to get answers to questions. Mm-hmm. Obviously understanding it's tough times, it's difficult, customer service is overloaded, chatbots are overloaded, phone systems are, you know, like hour-long waits and whatnot. But even going to websites or trying to find information has been just this, I don't know, maybe I'm more tolerant prior to this pandemic starting. And I was just like, what do I care? You know, I'll flip over to Bing, or I'll redo my search, or I'll, you know, invite my dogs to have an opinion because my dogs apparently have an opinion on this. And so I'm like, is it just my lack of tolerance that's showing over the last 2 weeks where I'm like, no, damn it, I want an answer and it needs to be the right answer. And even though I don't know what the facts are, I know what a non-answer looks like. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm seeing a rise in obviously more misinformation, but also missed opportunities for businesses that could be answering questions directly, just not. Yeah. And, you know, like, here's an example I'll give you guys. Google's new COVID-19 web experience, okay? So for 3 generations now, we've been taught, toss in a few keywords, we'll figure out the best answers for you, here you go. And yet when you go to that website, there is no search available at all. It is pure, you have to read everything on this extended long web page to find what you're looking for. So does that tell me that they lack confidence in their search results? Does that tell me you can't decouple from paid advertising in some manner? Like what am I seeing from that? Yeah. And ultimately, I'm, you know, as an industry insights kind of person and as an SEO, I'm just kind of like, so what does that mean that I should be thinking of 6 months and 9 months from now? Like, we're on the other side of this legitimately, and we get back to whatever normal is. What have I learned from this? And how do I apply that? Like, that's where my head is. Like, this morning, I'm just like, we got to fix this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the website is an interesting move by them because, to your point, you know, they're supposed to be serving up what the best result is, you know, regardless, without having to make a website themselves. With that, but also to your other point, there's so many non-answers and, you know, and just incorrect information out there that I think that they maybe wanted to control like the message to probably avoid, you know, like being blamed for spreading, you know, the wrong answers, you know, and I think that has a big part to do with it. I mean, yeah, of course they want to help. They want to put the right information out there, but also I don't think they want to look back after this and say, and be like, well, Google, you know, was just serving fake. It's like the fake news thing. It's like
absolutely,
fake news everywhere.
Absolutely. But as an SEO, then I'm going to ask myself, do you mistrust your search results? And if so, why? Because what you're saying is absolutely
their internal search ones they do.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they gave up internal search, right? So it's kind of like,
right.
You know, it's just funny that they're not. You're absolutely right. You would think like you provide a big search box and you let people look through the data. Maybe they think there's an order. I don't know if there's an order in which you're supposed to read them. I will tell you something weird. I was consuming content that I felt guilty consuming about at 1 a.m. And I mean that in the best of ways, meaning it was
you were on TikTok, weren't you?
No, it was all coronavirus stuff. And it was all coronavirus stuff that like was scary. Like it was just shit that like, frankly, like I don't want to know this stuff. Like, and it was prompted by me, again, not to bring us into a weird place, but like a friend of mine realized that he thought he might've had it in February, and he lives in DC. He's an old college roommate of mine. He works for the US government. And he's like, you know, DC is a very international city. And he gets into what he describes all the symptoms. And he says, I didn't realize it until the red eye thing that's been coming out recently about, you know, possibly getting conjunctivitis as a symptom, and that being a later stage thing. And as he's going through this, he's detailing out all this stuff that ends up being like, oh, this is supposed to be mild. Like, that's not mild. Like, he's like, it's the top 3 worst times I've ever gone through at home. So it's like not by any means mild. So what do I start doing, right? I start consuming. So I start consuming, you know, I ended up reading, for lack of a better name for it, Stay the Fuck at Home. I thought that was very well crafted, well written. Let me go through a cogent set of points very quickly. The problem I had at the end of it is it being slanted? Am I reading the right information? And can I trust this? Right? It was well written. And actually, I thought of people like Michelle. I said, you know, I'm sure Michelle could craft something that would sound just like this. You know, great writers out there that can do this sort of thing. Like I immediately thought of my friends that actually write copy way better than I ever could. And copy's a dirty word for that, but really great content, I should say. And I thought about them, and I'm like, you know, I just don't know if this is what I should trust. So maybe Google's approach there, and again, I'm not going to give them a full pass on this, but maybe Google's approach on there is like, we really want you to consume as much. And if you care enough, you're going to look through the stuff. And we want you to know these are the facts, because somebody's got to be giving us facts right now. Right now, I feel like drowning in opinions. I'm drowning in opinions, and I don't know what to do with those, because how do I know that the person on CNN knows any better than the person who is on New York One, and the person who's, and nobody's got, no one can tell me definitively. My own government, who's supposed to know all this stuff, can't tell me. Their response is like, hey, guys are playing basketball, so we're going to take down the 80 hoops that people used, but the other 1,600 are perfectly fine to leave up because, you know, no one will use those.
Right.
Logic has left the building is the point.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, I started this off and it sounded like I was kind of taking a shot across Google's bow. One thing that I do want to point out is I've had a lot of questions about this from our clients, basically coming through our sales org and whatnot. And it's, you know, features coming and going, and you know, the stuff that's been turned off in GMB, or that you're not able to access now, or they're slowing the roll on reviews and all of these things. And I think this speaks to a larger issue that tech has. And I'm gonna, you know, I saw an article the other day that somebody in Facebook was quoted saying, you know, we're just trying to keep the lights on right now. And the context of it is it's all hands on deck, and we're focused on one single thing. And you see this at Google, right? You see this at every large tech company. Typically, the way they will work is groups are siloed, and they're giving product, and they're giving features, and they're giving goals, and they go and they march on their own road toward those goals, which bubble up to a higher set of goals for the company, and so on. And I think all of that has gone out the window at this point. So human editors that you would have at Google that would normally be fact-checking stuff or looking at quality. I've got a notice as a creator on YouTube telling me some content will be pulled down or will be blocked, even though it meets our guidelines.
Really?
So you don't even have to go outside the guidelines to not get published, because we do not have enough people to do our normal scan of content. And therefore we're slowing all content creation as a natural side effect.
Wow, that's the response Amazon gives in, I can get you the stuff, but I have to delay your Prime delivery.
Right.
Because
30 days.
Yeah, exactly. My desk that I ordered 2 weeks ago, even though it's on Prime and normally would have shown up within 2 business days, it's a week later, right? Almost 2 weeks. And that's okay. And I have to deal with it as a consumer. And you as a content creator now have to think of that the same way in regards to publishing on some of these platforms.
It's interesting, right? Because we are used to, as SEOs, we're used to thinking about the search engines as kind of omniscient, as kind of like, well, they get their shit together. The algorithms are well tuned by now.
Right.
I mean, we've seen that, like quality up and down and whatnot. And generally, it's pretty good. And we've seen the growth of voice and how good that's become over a short period of time. So that tells you how fast machine learning can learn. And yet, we see features going dark. We see the inability to police reviews right now. And part of that I know is going to become from suddenly everyone's going to give everything a 1-star because they can't get it in 5 minutes.
Right.
And, it's just like, well, screw you. If you can't deliver it to me now, I'll give you a 1-star and that's it, which I don't believe is a realistic 1-star. And I think Google does the right thing by saying, nope, we're just going to, shut that crap off. But from the business perspective, you still need those reviews to drive the ranking, to drive all of these other pieces. And so it's a really, like when you interrupt one part of this,
that's a good point.
It's like a flywheel. When you push it on one spot, it wobbles in another direction, and so that input is felt in multiple other locations. And I think that, I think as SEOs, it's really important for folks to understand that these companies there's still a lot of human engagement involved. Not necessarily with the ranking algorithm, but with the ancillary pieces that we have all built to be important in our lives. Going to look at GMB on this. Going to look at things like image search or, filtering that you can do. Like features like that are only a subset, now suddenly take on a whole other prominence. And it becomes a real issue. Like I'm looking on GMB for my cable provider's office, and it's telling me that the 2 closest ones to me last week were closed. And the one that's furthest away is open. So I drive to that one, only to be told by the staff at the counter, why are you all the way out here? There's one 9 miles from your home that's open today. And I'm like, no, not according to GMB, it's not. According to GMB, it's closed all 7 days of the week. And that happened because someone had to go in and make a physical change. And now me as the consumer, I'm driving 40 miles out of my way to do my exchange. Like, not a huge deal.
Wow, you really needed to exchange your box.
Well, I needed to. My Wi-Fi router died on Friday night.
Okay, no.
So,
that right now, that's right? Like air. So I get
exactly.
It.
I'm like, we go into lockdown on Thursday. Friday night, my Wi-Fi dies on me. Saturday, I'm like, well, I've got an appointment for Sunday morning, but I'm going to a store on Saturday to see if I can fix this, And
can I get an extra box just in case?
Yeah, that was my hop around Southern California to solve the problem. And so it's that type of thing. And I think that it's really important for SEOs, for everyone in the digital community, to understand that, like the hospitals are struggling to cope with a lot of patients and the increased numbers of cases and, people that are in acute scenarios. I think all of these tech companies we're seeing the pressure they're under. We're seeing them, they're built to a level, but to triple or quadruple that level of pull against the system, look, let's just be amazed, Stefan, that you're getting your desk this week. That in 4 weeks, my Amazon order will show up with things I will need in 4 weeks, Yeah. And then to your point, what are we doing to focus on content that is not this week's topic, but what we believe will be next week's topic? And we know what next week's topic is going to be. If you look at news today, they're predicting the number of cases, the number of acute scenarios, and the number of people who perish is going to spike in the next 6 to 12 days. So we also then know that everything on that trajectory, everything related to that trajectory, is suddenly going to become more important. So you thought toilet paper was an issue last week? Oh, wait till next week. It will be like there's no toilet paper on planet Earth at this point.
But you know what? I think Duane, and I don't want to be doomsday too much, right? Because I do want to. But I'm right there with you, and trust me, I don't know if my
I know.
I don't know if my in-laws or my parents. No, I don't know if my in-laws or my parents actually are on, because they have been sneaking on this thing this week, and I'm like business and family.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting is, I'm being seen in my family as the the doomsday sayer or whatever. And in all fairness, I have a hoarded group of toilet paper. So I think I'll be good for the next.
Probably a little outside your family too, just a little bit.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. Much appreciated. Hey, Pat, do you have my number? Can you lose it? But no, but thinking about this way, we need to start thinking about what that's actually going to mean, right? So last night I had a conversation with my parents, and my parents are both like, yeah, I know this person's parents are in the hospital because of COVID, and this person's grandma is also there now, right? So as you're saying these things, it's actually making me realize, what does the dynamic look like next week? At least New Yorkers, I know that for a fact. New Yorkers next week and the week after will go through a lot of emotional change, right? Yeah. Right now, you being touched by this is maybe 2 degrees, right? You know someone who knows someone.
Absolutely.
That's going to get a lot tighter. And in fact, you know, there's going to be a certain amount of like, we're all remote, right? It's fine until someone you know actually passes away, and then you're grieving, right? And so then it becomes a question of like, how do we work in those conditions? How do we continue to push forward? How do we keep moving things forward and doing those types of things? So when you think about what people are going to cope with before, like, and it's crazy how fast it's moving. You need to write about work from home before. Now you got to realize that there's going to be a lot of people looking up stuff. With dealing with grief, with dealing with coping mechanisms, a lot of the stuff that people should be helping support, if they're in an industry that's relevant for this, they should be looking to provide answers to those things, because there's, as much as there's going to be a need for toilet paper, there's going to be a need for social support.
Yeah, I mean, and even building off of that, like a big thing that a lot of people should be talking about is, as this goes on, like we're about 2 weeks into this, not even yet, that feeling of isolation is going to grow for many, many, many people, you know, especially for people who live alone, whose roommates have, have gone to their parents' house or gone, out on the island. Like a lot of people have flocked out to Long Island at this point, from Manhattan. And I know a lot of people who are in their apartments alone. And, I was having a conversation yesterday with one of them, and you could start to feel like, at the beginning of the week, like everything's like, yeah, no, we're doing well, everything's good. And then you're starting to see it just kind of, the okayness, which is not a word, of working alone at home and that isolated feeling. And I think not enough folks are writing about that. Everyone's writing about the doom and gloom. Everyone's writing about that. But Stefan, to your point, the social aspect of it is probably the hardest thing after, someone getting sick or someone, God forbid, passing away, is that feeling of I am alone, or I feel trapped here. I'm lucky enough that I live in a house out on Long Island. I can at least walk out to my backyard and get outside. But for people who live in like studio apartments in New York City or Boston or in San Francisco, that feeling of isolation, just like I am in this box. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to start talking about and start addressing now, because in 4 weeks from now, I think that's going to be a humongous topic on how do I not feel so trapped in this apartment.
So this is really interesting, guys. So at the top of the show, I'd mentioned that survey that was done that Barry Schwartz had shared.
Yep.
And the number was 60% of people reporting on the Twitter survey said that they saw a decline in organic search activity for their business. And what's amazing about this is, if you think about our norms and how we live our lives generally, generally prior to this, we were all oblivious to any real problems. We live in a first world country. Starbucks is always open. Maybe we get a cough and a cold, you're down for a few days and then you bounce and off you go. And now what's happening is everyone is going introspective. Everyone is looking at other things, the importance of how I treat people, my relationships with people, reconnecting with people, with all of these things. And so there's a few layers to this. First, people who seek solace in knowledge need accurate information.
Yep.
So that remains paramount at all times.
And that's where we come in.
Another layer. Right. No, totally. As an industry, that's where we all live, right? And that is our responsibility through our loneliness. That is our responsibility. But on the other side of this, so let's call that a month from now. Let's say we revisit this in 30 days and we, all of us, open our hearts and say how we're coping with being at home and having to deal with this stuff. It is going to change search patterns. Unquestionably, it will change search patterns. We're seeing that now. Things that were luxury and enjoyment and our escapes gone.
Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant how many guitars I own, and buying another one, there is zero value in that. Zero in this climate. Does it make me feel good to shop? Hell yes, it does. I'm a consumer. Does it make me feel good to buy something that I like that looks pretty? Absolutely. But right now, paramount among everything is providing for my family and protecting our future.
Yep.
So that $1,000 that would have been discretionary, that I have set aside in my bank account that I can afford to spend on anything I want to, I'm spending it on exactly nothing, which means I'm researching nothing. I am watching videos on nothing. I am consuming content and becoming educated on nothing, because my norms have changed. It has totally become an inward view at a household level, at an individual level. So now we go from consumerism as normal to introversion as normal. And what does that look like? We are seeing a massive spike in online education. We all knew from this industry, this was already growing. We knew it was a growth industry.
Had to happen.
And some people got there. This is the de facto tipping point. We are there. It will always be here. You will see universities changed. You will see schooling changed. You will see expectations from businesses and employees changed as a result of this.
Yeah.
And it's going to change those patterns of behavior. My recommendation to people is be very careful when you do keyword research moving forward. It's going to be ballooned with everything related to COVID and very little to percolate to the top on volume around products.
Yep.
And so now suddenly all of those phrases that you thought were going to be your big drivers, those are going to start to only exist as long tail, one-off, guilty pleasure type query.
Yep.
And at that moment, because you've got such a fleeting engagement with the person, your data had better be the best and the most accurate, without question, because consumers right now are being trained. Oh, that's a bullshit statement about COVID-19. Oh, that looks like facts. Oh, I trust this source. Oh, I don't trust this source. They're being rewired in rapid fashion on how to judge data they see. And that's going to apply to your website. It's going to apply to your product description. It's going to apply to all of that.
You're so right. It's the world of, I hate saying this because again, I'm trying not to be political, but it's the world of alternative facts, right? First, we lived in a world of alternative facts where it was like, okay, that was just a political thing. Now it's a question of like our I hate to say our livelihood, but it kind of is our livelihood, not just in our existence, but like literally your business making decisions, everything is now being called into question because choice was always a good thing. Now choice is coming back to haunt us because there's too much of it. And too much of it, and anyone able to create it with no, listen, I can slap something up and say COVID does X, Y, and Z to you tomorrow, right? And if it finds its way to someone's inbox, or worse yet, my friend from this company or Johns Hopkins, you know, I don't have to be from there. No one fact checks it. It's just a statement, right? And it gets in my Facebook feed, and somehow I'm supposed to believe that that's right or wrong, just because it was shared with me by someone I find credible, who has no idea where it actually came from. This disinformation world that we're living in has started to become, at first it was an annoyance and it was more of like, okay, that's messing around with our politics. Now it's going to become something that's so pervasive, or like the parasite in of itself, that ends up, you know, really making us have to rethink how we build content, how we build credibility. Do you need to cite things? I was actually saying yesterday, I would rather people's FAQs actually have someone speaking with a video. I think A, it takes more time. It's annoying in creation, but I think B, it's harder for someone to get on a camera and lie to you directly. It's a hell of a lot easier to hide behind a bunch of words on a screen. You know?
Yeah.
Like own it, you know? And I think content's going to change. I think distribution of content's going to change. All that stuff.
So it's funny you just said that. So Michelle is in the chat, and her and I are going back and forth, and basically we're talking about, like, you know, and she goes, considering content, you know, the more that there is a human face / voice and not just text will have a bigger psychological impact. And, you know, I was just saying that at Conductor, and just we've been really encouraging people to turn their cameras on, to talk just like we're talking right now. You know, that was a big impetus with Stefan and I started getting the show together, just to get folks together to talk and see. And like every night I FaceTime with my mom and my dad.
Me too.
With my brother. I was on with my friends last night with this app called House Party, and we were just playing trivia. And it felt like we were hanging out, and that was something that I personally started to miss, because I'm a very social person. I'm always out, and being like in this isolated place a little bit, it felt really normal again, just because I could see them, and I felt like we were hanging out in my friend's living room, just doing that. So, absolutely can't agree more on that point, that turning on cameras, even though we're not physically next to each other, like Stefan, when's the last time you and I FaceTimed 4 or 5 days in a row, right?
No, forget 4 or 5 days in a row, dude. Even just FaceTime in general, we usually just make a quick call to one another. FaceTime is usually your son has grabbed the phone, your youngest, and he's butt dialing, FaceTiming me. But since he doesn't speak, he just will grunt to me and then hang up. And so I'm like, was that Pat or not? I can't even see. It was a blur. Yeah. So, but that tends to be more of our interaction. Now I agree with you. I'm evolving, or at least my needs are evolving. I think technology is going to have to evolve. Jimmy Fallon last night actually mentioned Zoom. He's like, we're Zoomers, we're this, we're that. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And I've been doing research around the video space, because I think that's obviously it is exploding, and I want to see what's being looked up and search words and all that sort of stuff. And as I do that, I'm looking at what brands are out there, who has the most market share and all that. Zoom is a big one, but they don't own everything. And Google's in the game too. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's the best product placement you ever could have gotten. And it just came for free. It's I've even mentioned how on the show, my 80-year-old dad's trying to tell me about Zoom. It's the new thing, I'm like, Dad, we've been using this thing, So I think things are going to change. I think we're all, I also think that this technology, it's okay, but the chat kind of sucks. And there's definitely a better way to Slack incorporate this. I just realized Slack can also do multiple people at the same time. I haven't tried that feature out about it. There's a lot of people that are going to create technologies to make this easier for us, because it's not going back. I don't care how you cut it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. If we're able to pull off work the way we are now, the idea of remote work is now and forever
normal work,
acceptable norm. Unless you have to press flesh to actually make a deal close, or I need to sell you this car and you need to sit in it with me while we test drive, I do not physically need to be with you. No offense.
I believe, you all. But I believe moving forward, we don't need any modifier on work, right? And I'm pretty sure everyone on this call can relate to this. We have, all of us at some point, done a day's work on our iPhone or our Android, because we've been able to communicate, we've been able to FaceTime, we've been able to Zoom, we've been able to make phone calls, we've been able to edit documents, we've been able to do the things that move business forward in that day. And that's not remote work per se, as a classical definition. But if I were on a beach in Maui, I could be as productive as I would be in my office in New York. It's just that reality. I think something that's I think critically important in all of this is, it's really important. So, and we've already touched on this, but I think it's important to kind of talk about this, right? The face-to-face, and then the relationships and securing those relationships are incredibly important at this time. Feels a little bit weird right now, but you know what? It was no different than when we first started talking to speakers and giving them queries by voice, right? You get through that. But one thing that I need to call out is I was invited the other day to a thing called pub trivia or something. I don't know. It's big in the UK. And there was a group that they added me to a messenger list at 5 a.m. And I got invited to this thing. And I didn't end up going the first day. The timing didn't work for me, but I've been following the thread. And apparently there is a thing now where if there are Zoom links that are out in public, people are finding those and they are joining the public meeting, even though they are uninvited and they are not an intended guest. And then they are spamming the meeting. They are taking over the screen share and showing porn and being truly disruptive.
Like Zoom crashers.
Right. Absolutely Zoom crashing.
God.
So this is now a thing. So if you're having those group meetings, use the features that are available to secure the link. set the password. Like, you think you're doing the right thing by saying, we'll always be on this link every night at 5 p.m. Join as you can. It's free for everyone. You're setting up a scenario where people are just going to get like spammed and then disjointed. So it got to a point where one person, they felt the need to shut down their computers, their routers, everything, reboot in sequence, change passwords, everything, just to make certain that they hadn't caught a virus because of what happened.
Wow.
So, I don't know that it necessarily is, that Zoom is usable that way, that's a vector for a virus. But I can guarantee you someone on planet Earth is working on making it a vector for a virus. And since we are all here, let's take that step, right? I am all about turn on the video, do as much face-to-face as I can. I am, at best, I like the handshake. I am not necessarily a hugging person unless we have that type of relationship already. And yeah, see, Stefan, I would hug you all day long. We've known each other for years. We have that relationship. Random people at conferences, in business meetings and whatnot, no, that's not a space, Yeah. And so I think that this type of thing allows a lot of people to, really be who they are. But it's not a free for all. We do have to kind of protect ourselves and protect each other while we're in here. Like, we're starting to do a really good job at this in our industry of protecting ourselves and putting protections in place at conferences and watching out for individuals who have been harassed or have had problems and kind of helping others who say, I need help. I feel we're good at that. Could we be better? Sure. There's absolutely room for growth, but we are way off the start mark at this point. Like, we're halfway through the marathon and we are still there. Unfortunately, there will be new people showing up and crashing stuff like this and saying, hey, I have a question for you, and then posting links to porn.
Sure.
And then that turns everyone away because everyone's like, well, the easiest way to not be spammed is just not go to the event. Then, off they go, right? And, so look, I'm going to pivot this quickly because I want to take this from negative to a positive.
Yeah, and I definitely want to move us also into understanding the customers and stuff, because I think you've got some great points you and I have been talking about that I want to make sure we get to as well.
Okay, let me throw this idea out there. Everybody can percolate it on their own. Whoever does it gets bragging rights. I don't care who does it, but someone's got to do it. In fact, I was going to reach out to Jim Christensen, and I was going to propose this to Jim, right? A couple of weekends in a row now, I've ended up on group calls on Facebook or wherever, right? And it's just a group of us sitting around talking, whatever happens to be on our minds. So I'm wondering, why can't we have a good old dance with a DJ using all this technology?
Lily's already trying. I just saw her post it last night, and about 17 people started talking about whether it should be on Twitch, where the best sound quality is, how you can still see the person and hear the music. I promise you, dude, it is coming, and Lily will probably be the first one to drop it. She got great beats too, so like it'll be in our industry, I promise.
Totally on this. Okay, I'm on board.
Yeah, who was here yesterday, by the way. So that same Lily you guys may have seen yesterday with us, Lily Ray. She's an awesome DJ. She's DJed some of our events. She's a great DJ here in New York. Shout out to
Lily. Is legit.
And yeah, she's already looking into how to do like I guess we're gonna have like an SEO dance party. So that may or may not be the end of our industry, depending on some of our moves.
Hey, listen,
everyone's doing in the lane.
Look, we survived the Google Dance Party, so
exactly.
We'll be fine with this.
You see how he brought that in? Perfect. Nice segue. Let's quickly pivot. So we have about 20 minutes left. I want to make sure we touch on some more businessy stuff, because I think all of this is very good. And I think we're getting to the heart of like what we're all going through. And I think this week especially has just been like a WTF, right? Like, where's the Friday? Right. And when Friday comes, we don't even know what the hell that means, because Saturday looks just like Friday anyway. At least in my world, it does. So that said, we've been talking, you and I, Duane, a lot about internal search, ways to actually start listening, because you're right. That search volume, it's not clear. It's not happening fast enough. I have never been more cognizant that our industry, unfortunately, what is that? Objects in the rearview mirror may appear closer than they are. That is 100% like my theme for like the week, right? And that's like when thinking of search volume, like you're always looking backwards and you really don't have this great way to look forward and see what the hell is coming. And in a time where things are happening so freaking quick and unpredictably, how do you set yourself up to be in the right place in God knows how long, 2, 3, 4 months? SEO should do that, right? And we need to explain to people that that's why you invest now in search. While you're scared to spend that $1,000, right, that's disposable, businesses are going to feel the same way about the way they spend their money right now with vendors and partners and so forth. So what are we telling them, and how are we explaining to them that the investment now, Pat said this before, the trees we plant today, and it's not his, but the trees we plant today are the shade we'll be under later. So how do we explain that? Give us a sense of where you find that data or where you mine that data right now. I know Yext has been doing some really interesting stuff with Yext Answer. So give us a little bit of insight.
So this is like, to me, this is like the holy grail, right? I feel like I've worked my entire career to get to this point, which on one hand seems like really, oh my God, insight, shining light. On the other hand, seems pretty damn obvious, because haven't we all worked to get to exactly where we are right now? Like, it's inevitable.
Stuck in my apartment, I went wrong.
I'm in a submarine with a screen door.
I should have made a left. Damn it.
I'm making the wrong choices here. But so here's the thing, right? We've got an immense amount of data at our fingertips, all of us as businesses, and a lot of these gold nuggets are being missed. They're not being uncovered, and I'm talking specifically about the idea of site search and the data that's inside that. I'm not going to name the company, but a friend of mine runs SEO and site search. It started with running SEO. That was his job. And then he decided one year to take on site search to see what they could find. By the end of the year, he'd uncovered $7 million in additional bottom line revenue for the company. Wow. So what was in there? Keywords and phrases that they did not think of, that were what people came to their website and asked for in the search box, that now they could directly target content on and put the person directly at the bottom of the conversion funnel. Because when someone is that on point with their query or their question, they are ready to convert. Yeah. You just need to, like, will you take my money? Yes, I will take your money. Then here, take my money. Like, they're at that point. And so that was their example. If you look at something like YouTube, if you look at YouTube, we all say this, right? YouTube is a search engine. Google certainly says YouTube is a search engine. I actually think of YouTube as site search, because that's effectively what it is. That's how it started. People upload the video, and then you go search, and they match all of that metadata around the video to what the query is, and there you go. That index that YouTube has is not the index of everything. It is only the index of whatever videos it happens to hold. So you will still find today that there are instances where you will go to YouTube, you will look something up, and there's no video there. But the video exists on Vimeo, because somebody wanted to produce it and put it there and block YouTube from it. So because of this, there's a vast opportunity for businesses with site search. Now, Stefan, you had mentioned the Answers product that we have at Yext. That's machine learning, AI driven. It comes up with amazing things. In fact, on Saturday, we launched with the state of New Jersey their COVID-19 website, and it handles everything. I'm not going to go into it. I will suggest people go. No,
I'll tell you, because it's his company, so it looks like hawking stuff, and like there is no. While we have shared clients, there are no official partnerships between us. So just word to the wise, no solicitation here, because I want this to be very. But go check it out. I played around with it. It is really cool, and I think it's awesome that you guys are doing that and working with them, because I think it's an example of someone using their technology in order to help. And I think the more we can do that, I mean, I can't produce face masks. God knows if I did. And I talked about this yesterday. If I had a maker bot, I'd have it running constantly, making face shields, right? But I don't have that. So I'm glad you guys are doing that.
But here's the cool thing about it, okay? When you build something like that, you have to create a knowledge graph for all the data, right? So we got all the data from the state of New Jersey. We created the knowledge graph, added thousands of questions that we knew were germane to the topic, put it all in there and said, go. And the machines did their thing, and then we built the program and we launched it, and it's out there live. What we didn't forecast, and now we know we should forecast in all instances, were the number of unthought of questions and queries that people enter. So now I need to flash us back to Google's statement about 15% of all queries are brand new. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely true, and it happens in your site search as well. Because the consumer comes in and says, hey, I have a question. I think you're the best one to answer it. Give me your search box. I ask my question my way, and maybe I get a match, maybe I don't. Whether you get the match or not, let's just kind of put that aside for a moment, and let's just look at the data capture that you're getting, because that is the gold right there. So you're racking your brains trying to figure out what content I should be producing next week. You should be answering today's questions in site search right now, publishing it tomorrow so that it's available next week when people are coming in. Because, and honestly, in the perfect world, you would hit every one of these, and then you would always find something that, if you will pardon my use of this phrase at this time, you will find something that will go viral.
Yep.
Because you're shotgunning it, right? You're producing so much content that something is bound to catch on with consumers, and then you've got that answer, and you become the de facto source. And then you're the one that's bookmarked. You're the one that's shared in text messages. You're the one that's shared on Zoom. You're the one that's picked up by 20, 30, 50 people. And your content, in the truest sense, becomes viral. It hops from person to person, the correct answer. So it's a hugely powerful moment in time for site search to be at this moment. And
yeah,
like, all businesses have the capacity to kind of look into their sites box or their search box, see what people are asking of them, and then go back and say, do I have an actual answer for this? Or as the SEO, am I maybe being a little lazy and I'm saying, oh, that's the answer I match with this, knowing that there's a half step in between. Mm-hmm. And that you're okay with asking the consumer to take the half step. I can assure you right now, the consumer is not happy taking the half step.
Yeah, and you know what, Duane? It's I hate this concept, but like, I almost think of it like, not to make light of it, but you know, the fortune cookie thing where you add in bed to the end of everything, right?
Yes.
I feel like people are going to do that with COVID, and my concern about that is that our reaction will be the same. So I think we're going to be very literal. I think we're not going to realize, and this is where I think like the smart marketer versus like the layman marketer are going to diverge. And this is where, if you're a smart marketer, I think you'll go one way. And I think if you're just going to go with the pack, you'll go the other way. I think everyone's just going to try and create COVID-19 content, which we already know Google is not going to let you rank. And ultimately, irrespective, and let's say months and months down the road, I still don't think a lot of the, home office for the COVID-19, I think what it really is smart marketers are going to recognize, even though COVID is a word put into my internal site search because that's the impetus, doesn't mean it needs to be the exact match search. And at the same time, I don't know about you guys, we're only like and also I think we should all have a number for the number of days we've been quarantined. Like, it's almost like, the number of days I've been sober. We all should get a chip, like when we hit a year, or I don't know what happens when we hit a year. If we're all still here, we'll see what that looks like, but I'll be Captain Caveman in case you can't recognize me. That's for all these young people. Look it up. It's old show. But the point I'm making is, like, the smart marketers are going to recognize that we're getting COVID exhaustion. I have COVID exhaustion. I watch, like, I used to turn on HGTV just because, right? But I also used to consume a lot of news. Now I feel an obligation to watch the news in the morning and at night. What the hell happened? But man, if, with exceptions of listening to Cuomo, because I just like him, I really just, I do not want, like, any moment I'm going to turn TV on, please get me out of this thing. I need to lose my brain. I need to not be in this. I need to just, for a minute, because a lot of our work right now, unfortunately, as search marketers, is going to freaking involve the word COVID and what people are searching and their concern and their heightened anxiety. And we as practitioners actually need to, from our own health purposes, need to recognize that. And that because we're so in tune with what the populace is thinking and feeling and how they're expressing, that adds undue stress to ourselves.
Listen, man, I've started leaving my phone in alternate locations away from me in the evenings, so that when I sit down to watch television, I'm not face down on my phone.
Bro, that's called forgetting. That's called forgetting where you put your phone. I mean, you could call it COVID, whatever.
But as a
dude, I think
marketer,
you just forgot your phone in the fridge, man. We got to call.
Stefan, as a marketer, I have to spin the message. Come on.
Nice job. Look at that.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah. See, we've done this enough.
Yeah,
go on. I'm sorry.
That's where you have to come up with like, you have to come up with like rules for yourself, like Duane, like you just said.
Yeah.
Like I don't do it. I only look at the news in the morning. I wake up. I go to a couple of news sources just to see an update, and then maybe I'll check the stock market once throughout the day, and then I'm done. I don't look at it at all at night because, Duane, same as you. If I'm sitting there watching TV and I have my phone there, I'm just going to start flipping through and just that's all.
Oh, listen. I know it's having an effect on me because every morning I wake up, I look at my wife and I say, I had the weirdest dreams last night.
Yep.
And I know that's because of all of the content I'm consuming in the evening before I go to bed.
Yep.
My brain is still processing it and I get these weird dreams. Now, they're not useful dreams like new ideas for guitar builds or something like that, right? They're truly weird. Like I was having a conversation with a woman about a roll of toilet paper in my grocery store, and the lower half of her was an octopus. I'm like, exactly what the hell does that mean? What am I trying to figure out? I don't get it.
You want me to break that down for you right now? You're looking to find the toilet paper. You need 8 arms to do it because you know that it's going to run out because you even shared that with us before. So
I just assumed that it meant that she was untrustworthy because she had more opportunity to reach for things than I did.
Oh, maybe you're scared she's going to take the toilet paper. I get it. Okay, so there's a whole other. I'll send you the bill for this therapy session later.
So yeah, I unfortunately, Stefan, I'm loving this conversation. I've got to stop in 5 minutes.
Yep. Why don't we take some questions? I mean, I know we've been going.
That's what I'm wondering.
Guys, does anyone have questions for Duane or want to hop in here? Would love to get some questions out there. Throw a hand up or
throw it in chat.
Throw it in chat. Exactly. See,
this is why you turn
This is why you need a button. This is why you need a button in here. Like, hey
guys, it's Sean here.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, this is why you turn your screen on, right? Because now we can see.
Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. First of all, I'm enjoying these chats. They're fantastic. I joined in yesterday and today too as well. A little bit late,
Sean.
but yeah, excellent stuff. So I'm in the healthcare space, and we're looking at building out more of the schema markup behind all this stuff here, and have actually implemented the new special announcement schema that Google had released, or not Google, schema.org had released. And so just want to kind of get you guys' input on that type of markup, how it's being indexed with Google, how it's being used as they kind of build out their space. Being that kind of authoritative figure within the healthcare space, we want to make sure that our content is not too much, I think you guys talked about a little bit earlier about making PPE, it's not too much homegrown, it's more authentic, more authoritative, not too much, but just more that has a space that has authority. And so, yeah, just kind of your insights on that would be great.
So, okay. So I was on the team that launched schema.org. So let me give you some, I will give you some
direct
advice.
You got the best person here for this show.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I know the video won't capture this, but I'm pointing at Duane. I don't even know if the video, it shows that he'll be on my left, but that's where he is on my box. So yes. That guy.
Wonderful.
So here's the thing. First off, if you're in the health space and you are, let me clarify this. Are you a healthcare provider?
Yes.
Okay, then you know what? You're already authoritative. So don't worry about that side of the equation. Okay, you produce your content. You are authoritative. That content has to work hard to be non-authoritative, meaning your grammar's got to suck, your syntax has got to be bad, like your readability's got to be poor. And I trust that you won't do those things. I trust that your copy editing will be fine. And so it really is about now more than ever, what are the main questions people have? What are the factual answers? You may feel like you're covering ground that's already been covered. You need to cover the ground, okay? That's the equalization with everyone in the space. When it comes to deploying structured data, all of it, everywhere. Like, it's not an option. Every rich experience that we enjoy in search is powered in part or wholly by that structured data. So the trust that the engine puts because you did structured data is real. You definitely want that. So if you have structured data on half of your website because you're like, oh, okay, we can get the IT resources, we can deploy it in this vertical within our web property, that's not enough. Like if one of your competitors has 3/4 of their site marked up, they look like a better answer, all things being equal. And your goal is 100%. Your goal is everything. Go in the library, find all of the elements that are related to what content you have today. Some of it will be simple, right? Name, address, phone number, hours of operation, things like that. Very straightforward. Some of it, however, will be much more in depth. Some of it is going to be literal, it's unique to you. And you will be able to tease that out. If you look in the schema library, you will find an almost endless number of things. And we might be working at describing brand names for the equipment you guys have, because that's important today. It may be brand names for cleaning products that people have, that you guys are using, that consumers realize, wait, this is hospital grade. This is good for my home and my family. All of this is going to be very important in the near term, but also the next 6 to 12 months.
Hell yeah.
There will be real value across this. Like now is the time for you to prove that you're there for your consumer in depth with all of the information. When you do that, they will just attach to you. Every consumer is trying to solve a problem. My problem today is how do I stay healthy? How do I keep this virus out of my home? Anybody who is proven to help them accomplish that goal, they're going to be held tight to the heart. They are going to be besties. Like every situation where people are put together and then put under stress, the relationships become stronger. You've survived something together. So you see this all the time in war, where people go fight together and then they have lifelong, meaningful relationships because of that bond formed under stress. COVID-19 is no different to us. It is forming the bond under stress. So
well said.
Everywhere you can do it, deploy structured data. Absolutely. Do not take shortcuts. If your IT team says, we don't have the resources, it's the future of your business at stake. I can't put it any other way than that. And I'm not overstating that.
No, not at all. In fact,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're currently we don't have it everywhere. We're kind of deploying it in these kind of high volume areas, thinking that that's kind of like where our strategic operations are going to be placed currently, especially with COVID materials and things like that. So definitely deployed throughout the air, but we are in the process within, I'd say, the next 3 months or so, having more across the board on some of our other content areas.
Great. Listen, Sean, by all means, we're all here to help, especially with companies like yours that are looking to ensure that people are getting the right information. I think that's a great point.
For sure.
We'll leave it there. Duane, thank you so much for coming in. Guys, tomorrow, hopefully you'll join us again. We're going to actually make it more of a Feedback Friday. So thinking we're going to start incorporating a lot more of just, I want the audience getting into this. So if you got questions, thoughts, concerns, need to riff, need to yell, maybe we don't want to record that part, but we would love to have you guys on. Michelle, Duane, everyone else who joined, please, by all means, come back tomorrow. Join us again. Duane, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it. It was useful for all of us. I know me included. Thank you, guys. And we hopefully will see you at the same time tomorrow. Same link. Don't share it with spammers. See you guys later.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
guys.
Gang.
Be well.
Bye.